Alright guys, so back to a new video. Today we'll watch this video by Fredyy. Definitely go and check out his channel.
I'm gonna teach you how to make your own games. After this video you will be a pro. The number one lesson is, your game idea probably sucks. The faster you let go of the GTA 6 and
It's not sometimes just sucks, sometimes it's out of scope. You cannot really produce it with the resources and the skills and time you currently have. Many people, as I mentioned before, do not study game design as much as they study coding, art, and stuff like that, which is wrong because the heavy lifting of the game, in which makes it really fun, is game design principles. So yeah.
in your mind, the faster you will learn. This will probably sound really harsh, but no matter how good you think your game idea is, it's probably bad. And listen,
Yeah, but that depends on people that never studied game design and never made games before, and they are just trying to figure out right now.
I'm not trashing on you, I'm just telling you how it is. I'm not gonna serve you bullshit. Lesson number 2 is, you cannot escape programming. Games are literally computer.
Not right if you are trying to work as a game dev, but it's right if you're trying to be a solo game dev, which is way different. As we explained before, game dev is an industry just like main media industry, just like cinema and stuff like that. It's okay if you work just like a narrative designer or a director or a lightning manager, but it's not okay as a solo dev that you don't know programming, because yes, most game engines do rely on programming, and it is a great skill to learn as a solo dev. Even for engines like Unreal Engine that use blueprints, coding still could make you a very great advantage as a solo game dev in Unreal.
Programs. You can use visual programming languages, but you cannot escape programming itself. And for me, programming is the best part anyway, so why would you run from it? Lesson number 3 is always go in with a plan. Never make the mistake of opening a game engine and trying to learn it without a goal. You're just going to be overwhelmed by the amount of.
And this is for learning the game engine, and of course should be also for making a video game. You always should have a plan, even if it's not perfect and you know it's gonna fail, but having a plan make you more rigid and more easy to time manage your stuff, and make you don't quit easily, because you know, like, I finished only 10% of what I should have learned or should have done of the project. So you now can, when you learn something new or want to learn the same thing, you can really get back to your plan and see what goes wrong in that plan.
Of options and information that you need to take in. The first time you open a game engine, you should already have a game idea in mind, something very simple like a Mario clone or a Pong clone. Before we move on to lesson number 4, I want to give you a few tips for your first games. You need to make at least 3 very simple projects. You're only supposed to learn from them. These are not things you're gonna release.
Well, these are not really rules. They are just things that works with most people. It's just things that people get comfortable after making 3 small games or small projects. It's not really something that you should 100% do. I know many developers that just started with commercial games even. They just started learning, read some documentation, saw some tutorials, and started commercial game development, which is wild. But I saw people that make even 5 and 10 games before they felt comfortable making big projects.
Or show anybody, just learn. They all have to be very different from each other. For example, you can make a Pong clone and then a Super Mario clone because they are really different in gameplay terms.
It's not just game core mechanics, it's also art. So as you see in Pong, you don't need really much of art assets, but here in Mario you need more of 2D art assets, which is important. And then you are learn, this looks like top down but not pixel art. I guess this is a cartoonish style. So see, different art styles too, different productions pipelines will make you more experienced.
The third option, you could probably make a top-down shooter or something you want to make. Here it's important to understand that your games are going to be really bad and that you're going to have a ton of difficulties. You can try to do things on your own, but if you feel too stressed, watch tutorials, man. Don't let your ego control you. Allow yourself to do hard things.
Yeah, it's okay to watch tutorials. Even after tens of years of experience. You might even, if you learn multiple coding, like programming languages, you might even forget how functions sometimes work, like debug.log. Sometimes you forget how it was syntaxed, so you need to just, if you learned like many programming languages, so you need to really go check back what the syntax really was. So it's okay to watch tutorials, okay to revise your documentation. There's no shame in that. Of course, it's super okay, and everyone does it, even professionals. The important thing that you should do is just make great games, no matter the way is.
Just not in the hardest possible way, you know. Lesson number 4, avoid tutorial hell, please. You shouldn't really worry about this in the first 3 games that we were talking about earlier because you were just learning the very basics. But after that, it's time to be careful with tutorials that teach you an entire thing like
I agree with that. You should watch tutorials about a feature maybe, or an asset you bought, like if you bought Final IK, you need to watch a tutorial for Final IK. You need to watch a tutorial of something you'd never studied before, like Unity timeline for cutscenes. It's okay to watch like tutorials of something, but not how to make a full game of this. After the after the 3 games that you already programmed, or 3 projects that already do. So that's what the guy is talking about.
Entire game type or an entire game mechanic, because you could become dependent on those tutorials and never really learn how to make your own systems in your own types of games. As I said, you don't have to do things in the hardest possible way, so I still recommend you watch tutorials, but very specific tutorials like how a specific component works in Unity or a node in Godot. This way you can still avoid the stress of something that is way...
And by the way, don't hesitate to check out documentations, because sometimes documentations are more informative than YouTube videos, or to tell you stuff according to your maybe version of the editor that you're using. Sometimes outdated content could be problematic because especially in Unity, because the different updates, the different versions, the different pipelines and rendering pipelines in Unity, and the different features are moved in place or even removed.
Beyond your capacity to do things your own way. So to definitely escape tutorial hell, I recommend you make a 4th game. This time you can even show people and ask for feedback. But the most important thing is being something new, and that you don't watch tutorials for the whole thing, just for specific things, as I said.
That could be a good practice. If they are low scope games, you can even start with your first commercial game, because you need in the end to learn accessibilities, options, and how commercial games really are different from small projects. They are way different, and you will gain tons and tons of more experience when you work with a commercial game than just working with a normal game.
Lesson number 5 is explore new territory, always. When I was starting, I spent months learning Unity and I would never try anything else. I was making progress, but I felt like I was too dependent on Unity itself as a tool. And so I decided to learn Godot. It was very stressful at first, but once...
Many people do that. To me, I see the best option, which is complicated and not many people do it, to be honest, which is making your own game engine. It will make you understand every game engine how it works, especially if you make like a 2D one or 3D one. It's complicated, hard to learn. To some people it's an impossible task to do, to be honest, but it's hugely informative and makes you do not feel like you are relying on a game engine. You're just using it as a sword, just as when you see how the sword or the gun is made, you don't feel dependent on them, because or the one who sells you this sort of stuff, because now you can make it your own if you want. So it makes you feel more confident and understand the engine better.
Once I understood the engine and the differences between the two, I realized that I was way better after this. Learning Godot made me value more the overall concepts of game development and programming. Godot's documentation even focuses a lot on the history of game development and why things are done, and that helped me a ton. This experience made me a better game developer all around. Lesson number 6 is focus on the process. I know this sounds cliche, but game development is a craft, and you have to focus on the craft, not on the reward for the craft.
Exactly, the reward comes with the craft, not the opposite. You can dream of making yourself sustainable by the money of game development industry, or that's okay, and you should seek that. It's an amazing thing, of course, to have your financials just from something you very much like to do, or fun to do, just like game dev. It's something amazing, to be honest, to dream of and think of, but don't make it the 100% priority.
I know you want to do this for a living, but your first game is probably gonna flop financially, but it's not gonna flop in your eyes if it's good and if you learned something from it. Focusing on making better games is the only way to withstand failure and eventually achieve success. And I promise you, if you make good games, they will be appreciated. After you follow all the steps and
even if sometimes I've seen games that never marketed themselves in Steam. Of course, not do that. That would be stupid. But there are games that even succeeded by the word of mouth from people. So yeah, there's many amazing games. There are a very big chance to succeed, but just by your game being good. And fairly priced, of course, and consumer friendly. So yeah, do not be afraid. And probably if your game sucked, probably it's just because it sucks. And that happened to me multiple times, and could happen to you multiple times. So trust the customers a bit more.
in this video you can probably start making your dream games. But don't allow yourself to become too attached to a single game idea. Remember, you have to become a fountain for good games. Only one is not gonna get you anywhere. In the beginning, you're gonna feel like you are not ready to make that one game that you always wanted to make. But you are. It's just that you don't want that game to flop, so that's why you'll never make it. If you flop with that one, you can always make a better one, and then people will appreciate your first one because of who you are. Alright, this is your...
And yeah, an amazing video by Fredyy. Of course, go check out his channel. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.